All right, friends. Congratulations if you won your fantasy league. If you didn't win your fantasy league, that's okay. It was fun, right? Win, lose, or draw. It was fun. It's fun. Fantasy football is fun. Football is fun. And here we are to talk about it. The best and the worst of week 17. And who won the Heath Jamie championship?
I won 3 championships today, and I lost the Heath Jamie championship, and it was not fun. It wasn't fun at all, and I don't know what you're talking about. Nothing fun about it.
I knew you needed the Rams to not do it. Stafford held up his end. He didn't really.
Wink was a disaster. Yeah, Wink's a myth. The Giants should go find a different defensive coordinator.
No, too much Kyron Williams, and we had some big games. We'll go over the best performers of the day. Also, I do winners and losers with Heath and Dave and Jamie. Today's just Heath and Jamie. Jamie will be on shortly. And
Jamie was the winner. I was the loser.
No, just one matchup there. But we'll talk about the players that came through for you and those that disappointed. And if anybody is here in the chat, Happy New Year to you, and thanks so much for hanging out with us on this Sunday night. So without any further ado, Heath, who were some of the players? I asked you for 3 players who came through for you today. And I didn't know if that was really about your rankings, not your leagues, I think. But yeah, I meant in your
not what I was going for at all. I chose 3 players who helped me win championships, and the disappointed was 3 players who helped me lose championships.
All right, that's
so fine. Lamar, Devon Achane, and Devontae Adams really came through for me today. Really the key contributors to 2 of my 3 championships that I won today. I think Lamar secured the MVP. That race is over. We can etch it in stone. 5 touchdowns against the Dolphins. He was fantastic. Achane, very, very good. It's going to be tough to rank him going into next year. And then same thing for Devontae Adams, really, because it was getting easier to rank him as someone who was over the hill. Didn't look over the hill today.
No, he did not. And Aiden O'Connell actually ended up having a decent game for fantasy purposes. Not that anyone started him, but Achane was really interesting. I didn't really think he would get the work that he got. Achane had 18 touches, 14 carries, and 4 catches. That's not a lot more than I thought he'd get. Maybe I thought he'd be in the 13, 14 range total instead of 18, but he was obviously the guy, right? Jeff Wilson got almost nothing, and Achane was so explosive today. I talked about, I think in his previous 4 games, he didn't have a run longer than 15 yards, and right out of the gate, that might have been his first carry, may have gone for more than that. So that was really nice to see. Also, how about Mostert and McCaffrey, the 2 touchdown leaders at the position? They're healthy for 16 games.
Yeah.
Mostert misses week 17. Sorry, 16 weeks, 15 games. Mostert misses week 17. McCaffrey gets hurt in week 17. It's just kind of sucks.
Well, it's the nature of the position. It's the nature of the game.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right, and then because I didn't know he was hurt. Did you know he was hurt when Elijah Mitchell got the touchdown?
It was a weird thing. It looked like either he was hurt or he was trying to stay warm because he thought he was going right back in. He was doing some high knees stuff on the sideline. It wasn't, and then eventually he went over and got taped up, and then Mitchell came out the next series and it was pretty obvious. But yeah, at first it just kind of looked like they were maybe giving Elijah Mitchell some work, which is something they really don't do.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, so we'll check on McCaffrey. He's not going to play next week. They have nothing to play for. The Ravens and the 49ers, I'm editorializing. I don't think he's going to play next week. Safe bet. Hopefully it's nothing too serious for McCaffrey, but he doesn't have to play again for another 3 weeks. The Ravens and the 49ers have locked up the 1 seeds. We'll try to talk about the playoff scenarios for those of you who want to do some DFS next week, those of you who are still playing next week, which teams actually have to play, which teams are going to sit their starters. I don't know how many teams are locked into their seeds. That's the only problem. It might just be 2,
I need to do some research on the potential Chiefs tiebreakers with the Texans and Colts if Jacksonville loses and one of those teams wins. But the Chiefs can't get the 1 or the 2 seed, and I don't really think that they could even fall to the 4. They have the tiebreaker over Jacksonville, so if Jacksonville wins, it's pretty much decided. The Chiefs might be a team that rests, and I think the NFC East is still going to need to keep playing.
Oh, absolutely. Cowboys they win the division, which is so interesting because all the Eagles had to do was win out, beat Arizona and the Giants, and they would have been the first back-to-back NFC East winners since 2004, I believe. It never happens. And now they need help. They need to beat the Giants on the road, and they need the Commanders to beat Dallas. But that is good news if you're playing next week. Yeah, way to go. We got some champions in our chat. If you're playing next week and you have Cowboys and you have Eagles, that is the good news. Both of those teams need to win. Cowboys win, and they lock up the NFC East. And I guess they'd lock up the 2 seed, right? They have the same record as the Lions, or yes? And
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Yeah, so they'd be ahead. All right, players who disappointed you. Actually, before we do that, let me just talk a little programming here. I've already submitted my top 12 quarterbacks to Jamie.
I have not. Is that due tomorrow?
Yeah, it's due tomorrow, and it was tough. I left Dak out.
That sounds like you.
I originally did it, and I was like, wait, I just left Brock Purdy out. And so it was either going to be Tua, Purdy, or Dak out. So
it was pretty close, but
I got Anthony Richardson in there. I got CJ Stroud in there. So it's going to be, I think you're going to come up with 13. You're going to have trouble. I left Cousins out too.
I'll probably just leave Trevor Lawrence out.
He's not in my top.
Oh, okay.
No, Kyler's kind of high. I think he's 7 or 8. Yeah, you'll see. You'll have to make a tough call. Anyway, we'll be talking about that going on in the next week or so. But also, we're going to kind of treat week 18 as a normal week. We'll give you a waiver wire show. Wednesday show will definitely be different. We'll be spinning it ahead a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about week 18, but we'll spin it ahead to 2024. Then we'll have your starts and your sits on Thursday and Friday. There will be no show on Monday. Okay, players who let you down this week. Again, this was about your teams and not your rankings, but maybe it could have been your rankings. I don't know, but what do you got there?
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, Javonte Williams, and Devontae Smith. And so Mahomes, what was it? Was it a field goal fest for the Kansas City Chiefs? Harrison Butker had 5 or 6 of them. Isaiah Pacheco seemingly caught every pass that Mahomes completed, except for a long one to Rashee Rice. Travis Kelce completely irrelevant once again. And it's going to be really interesting because I don't think Mahomes plays much next week. And so what he does in the fantasy playoffs, if there is a switch to flip or not, because if he's this guy in the playoffs, I think he's someone who's probably around QB5, QB6 next year in terms of ADP. And that will be pretty interesting.
I had him at 3.
Yeah.
Jackson at 4. He's still Mahomes. It's weird when you do this, right? When you do this exercise, it's up to each individual ranker to decide, how much you just believe the Chiefs are going to get him help next year. But there's also a possibility that Kelsey's going to retire. So
yeah,
still Mahomes. I mean, how bad was MVS? MVS killed Mahomes in this game.
Yeah, probably cost me a fantasy championship. But no, MVS is terrible. I think Travis Kelce maybe already retired and just didn't tell anybody. They have one good receiver in Rashee Rice, and Isaiah Pacheco is awesome.
Yeah, and if you had the one or both of Mahomes and Kelce for the fantasy playoffs, I mean, they were so bad when it mattered most, especially Kelce. It's 3 straight games with single-digit PPR fantasy points for Travis Kelce. 3 of his 4 worst games of the season.
Yeah, is he a top 3 tight end going into next year?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like McBride went out with a bang, right? And he still has another game, so we'll see. To me, he probably is. You know what I was thinking? Is I don't really think Likely is going to stand in the way of Mark Andrews, but Isaiah Likely is. I think he's really good, and in another world, he could be a top 5 tight end or something. But is he going to? That's the question. Is he going to hurt Mark Andrews next year?
I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think he matters if Mark Andrews is healthy.
All right. News and notes from today. Your big injuries would be Christian McCaffrey, calf injury, Alvin Kamara, ankle injury. And here's how the NFC South looks right now. If the Buccaneers, you could correct me if I'm wrong here, if Tampa Bay wins at Carolina next week, okay, they've got Carolina on the road. If they win, they've got the NFC South. They win it. If they lose, I believe the winner of the Saints and Falcons wins the division.
I think that's accurate. I'm not sure in the Tampa Bay lose Falcons win situation when they're all 8-9 who the champion is.
Okay. But the Saints, I do believe, are going to be playing next week, going to be going for it.
Yes.
Ken Walker left with a shoulder injury. And again, if you're playing next week, you could have Zach Charbonnet at Arizona. So that could be exciting. Tua left with a fourth quarter shoulder injury. He says he's just sore. I hope that's true because they're playing for the division. The difference is the Dolphins have clinched a playoff spot. The Bills have not. They're probably going to get in, but they have not clinched. But the Bills, if they win, the winner of that game wins the division.
Yes.
It's in Miami. Will Levis left in the first half. He re-aggravated an injury.
Not just that, but the winner of that game gets the 2 seed.
Right. Okay. Of the Bills game. Yeah.
Yes.
Devontae Smith apparently was on crutches after the game, and he was in a walking boot.
I did not see that. I apologize for saying you let me down, Devontae.
No, he played almost every.
I know,
but
still he's hurt.
Yeah. I don't know what happened there to Smith, but he is hurt. T. Higgins left with a hamstring injury, but he returned. Noah Brown left with a hip injury. Devontae Parker left. The Bills, I heard on the broadcast, they had 4 drops in the first half. So the numbers were not good for Josh Allen, but I guess he got a little Mahomes a little bit there. Laramie Tunsil left for the Texans, their star left tackle. Seattle right tackle Abraham Lucas left. Seattle, I believe, was eliminated. No, Denver was eliminated today. I don't think Seattle was eliminated. I'll check on that.
I do not believe they were, correct.
And that's it. I mean, actually, it was a terrible day for the Dolphins. They got smoked. And also, Xavier Howard, their starting cornerback, left in the first quarter. And Bradley Chubb, edge rusher, may have torn his ACL. So that they're already without Jalen Phillips. He's been out for a few weeks with an Achilles. I think it was an Achilles. Now it's Bradley Chubb with a knee injury. That just stinks for the Dolphins. Worst possible time, and already without Jalen Waddle.
So Kyron Williams won the fantasy MVP today, right? Like Mostert had it. And
Puka?
What?
Puka?
Ooh, that's one of the two.
The difference is Kyron missed 4 or 5 games, whatever it was. I think it was only 4 games.
Puka was just unstartable those 4 or 5 games.
So it's a Ram. It's a Ram for sure. And
Yes.
they got a great candidate for coach of the year. They are in the playoffs. The Rams are in the playoffs. That might be another team that's resting players, but we'll see how much seeding matters to these teams. All right, we'll take a look at the games. We'll take a look at the leading scorers when we come back. Let's take a break here on Fantasy Football Today. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Heath has some New Year's plans with his family. Just nice. Sounds like a nice New Year's.
Gonna build a fire.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Got a charcuterie board.
I already had brisket tonight. Yeah, my
Wow.
mom's here. She made it.
Nice.
It was freaking great. I'm gonna have some ice cream later. Already had some, but I'll have some more later.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at our top players at each position in Fantasy Week 18 and see what stands
The
out.
champions here.
Oh, Jamie's here. What's up, Jamie?
What's up, guys?
Oh, we're just looking at the leaderboard now.
Okay.
All right, our top 5 quarterbacks in Fantasy Week 17. Lamar Jackson with 45 points. Nobody's even close right now. Kyler Murray with 29 points. Joe Flacco,
MVP.
he did win the MVP. Joe Flacco, 28. Justin Fields, 26. And Jalen Hurts, 24. Kind of a low-scoring week. Only one, actually, not kind of, an extremely low-scoring week. Only one 30-point scorer going into Sunday Night Football, and it's Lamar Jackson. So, Jamie, give me your thoughts on quarterback this week.
Well, Lamar was awesome. I've yet to look really in depth. You and Chris Towers are the only ones who sent me the 2024 quarterback rankings yet. I have not completed mine yet, but it does feel like the guys at the top are going to be very interesting because, like, where does Mahomes go from here? Can you buy into Lamar being back as maybe the number 1 guy? It feels a little recency bias to say that, but
Yeah.
it was a tough week. It's been a tough stretch. It's not fun to see Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, limping to the finish line.
Yeah, I already said this, but I had Jackson 4. But what I love about Jackson now, guys, is that he doesn't have to do everything by himself. You can see Zay Flowers, and whether it's Likely or Andrews or whoever, you see guys making plays for him. So that's nice. I don't know. Maybe the offense is really clicking. And sometimes it's great immediately first year with a new offensive coordinator. Sometimes it takes time. So it seems like, better.
It's interesting that you say that, because this is the first year with a new offensive coordinator for Patrick Mahomes and a new offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts. And I know those guys have known the system that they came into, but it feels as if there's an issue with what we've seen this year from those two guys in particular. And even Josh Allen, same thing, coordinator change.
Romo had great analysis on the Pacheco touchdown catch. He said that was a play that they haven't run all year, where they line up 4 guys on the right side of the formation, and then they run Pacheco right up to the middle of them, and nobody covered him, and he was wide open. He said,
did you see 2 guys ran with Chase or Higgins? One of the 2 receivers coming across. I'm sorry, ran with Rice. Excuse me. One of the 2 Bengals receivers ran with Rice. Yes, with Rice. I'll get it right.
Yeah.
And just left the middle wide open.
They said they were going to try to get back to some of their basics to get their explosive plays, and maybe again, it's always some stupid drop. That MVS drop. Oh, man.
Well, Heath, let me ask you this, because obviously you watch the Chiefs as much as anybody. Is Kelsey done? Because he looks like he can't separate, and just, we know the age was coming. Father time was coming for him. And it just feels like it may have happened. Like we watched it unfold.
Yeah, he looks completely washed. Does not. And I told Adam, like, the thing that will be interesting, and I don't think they play much next week, but when they get to the actual playoffs, I think there's probably some thought in that locker room that they've got a switch that they can flip, and we'll find out. But if they can't flip the switch, he's not a top 3 tight end. I'm not sure he's a top 5 tight end next year. He looks like almost Jason Witten-esque.
Yeah. You just wonder,
not as good as a play-by-play guy, of course.
Just wonder, though. He hurt his knee right before the season started, and if he's ever been healthy. So
and he might not, like, it might not matter. He may not play next year.
Yeah. Do you kind of feel like they're both Kelseys are going to retire at the same time? Just be like, see you later. Let's just be podcasts.
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
I don't know.
All right, let's go to the running backs here. Your top 5 running backs this week. Oh, man, I'm so bummed that Najee Harris didn't make the list, because I think this was the best version of Najee Harris I've ever seen. He was a freaking beast today. He's 7th right now. Kyron Williams, Isaiah Pacheco both scored right around 29 PPR fantasy points. Breece Hall on Thursday with 27. Jerome Ford on Thursday with 25. And it was looking a little scary for Travis Etienne, wasn't it? But then he had, was it an 80-yard, 60-yard touchdown run?
Big run, I'm not sure.
Big, long touchdown run, and then another one later. So Etienne and James Conner is tied for 5th. So that's 6 guys. Kyron, Pacheco, Breece Hall, Jerome Ford, Etienne, and James Conner.
There's no doubt that Kyron Williams is the fantasy MVP, right?
We had that discussion like 5 minutes before you joined.
It's him or Puka.
Oh, it's Kyron. I mean, he missed 4 games and still did this.
Well, that's the point. He did miss 4 games. That's the only thing against him, is that he missed 4 games.
Unbelievable.
And then is he good? I mean, where does he go? I think he's good.
Is he good? I love that.
Really good this year, but he wasn't.
He's a 1st-round pick.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm probably going to avoid that, but yeah, he probably will be.
Well, I mean, how many running backs are better than him going into next year? 5, 6, maybe at most.
Yeah, I don't think he or Rashad White will be 1st-round picks. I think they'll be in the 2nd round.
Well, obviously, you have to see what they do with their offseason. But assuming the main pieces are back and no significant addition is made, let's say it's like another Royce Freeman type of guy that's back there, Ronnie Rivers type of guy that's back there, you're talking about, that's off the top of my head, you're taking McCaffrey, Breece, Bijan, Gibbs,
Taylor.
I mean, now we're getting to the range where he belongs.
Right.
Bijan might have become RB1 next year today.
Yeah. Oh, because he's getting fired? Yeah.
Because the Falcons lost to the Bears so badly. Yeah.
I don't think the Bears are eliminated from the playoffs, are they?
No, they need a tie tonight.
To be eliminated from the playoffs?
No, I think if there's a tie, they're still in it.
Oh, they need a tie tonight?
Neither one of these teams can win.
Man, Justin Fields looks awesome.
Yeah, he looked good too. All right, so Kyron, Pacheco, Brees Hall, Jerome Ford, ETN, James Conner. Not much to say there. Really impressive game just from the Steelers. They were just so much more physical than the Seahawks, who were without Jordan Brooks. I don't know how much of a difference that made, but you could tell. And you could tell they were just got beat up. And then Devon Achane, also, we already taled about him. Let's go to our top wide
receiver. Or Kyron will be a good conversation next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are the chances with all of these comments? Like, could you guys just cut the profanity out of the chat tonight? No profanity in the chat, because I'm trying to click on all the league winners, and I'm going to click on the wrong one. I almost did twice now. So
all right.
No more profanity.
Wide receivers: CeeDee Lamb, 39 points. Devontae Adams, 37 points. DJ Moore, 30 points. Brandon Ayuk, 24. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, 22. So that's a little boring that only 3 of the top 5 actually played today. But if you want to extend it, how about, of course, this is actually, I think, pretty fantasy relevant. George Pickens. Let's see, if he does it again next week with Mason Rudolph, they got to stick with Rudolph, right? You gotta
yes. That'd be idiotic at this point not to go to.
And Darius Slayton, he's got a nice connection with Tyrod Taylor. Maybe he's worth using next week against the Eagles.
Wish he could have played linebacker and tackled Kyron Williams.
Anyway, yeah, we got Lamb, Adams, DJ Moore.
He's gonna win that league for like 3 of the next 5 years.
I feel like I'm going the right direction.
Yeah,
happy to be there.
Anyway, Pickens, I think, is a big story here, guys. Some momentum going into next year.
Absolutely. It's funny because the Steelers are almost like in like purgatory to an extent, because like they're going to continue to win. They're not going to have the chance at a franchise quarterback that could probably change the tenor of what the offensive skill players have, because they have really good skill players, and I think that's the thing that's kind of missing. And I don't know if Mason Rudolph is that guy, but he's looked like it the last couple of weeks. But I mean, there's a lot to like about what it could be for those guys, and you're just seeing, somebody featuring George Pickens has been fun.
I think that if the Jaguars lose and the Steelers win, then the Steelers are in next week.
Well, I think also something got to happen with the Colts and Texans.
Okay, so right now the Colts, the Jaguars, Colts, and Texans are all 9-7. The Jaguars are the 4 seed. If it ended today, they'd win the division. The Colts are the 7 seed, and the Texans are the 8 seed. But the Steelers are, and there are only 7 teams to make the playoffs. The Steelers are the 9 seed. They're also 9-7. So if the Steelers win, they go to 10-7. If the Jaguars lose, they go to 9-8. So they jump them. And then one of the Colts and Texans are also going to lose because they play each other. So one of those teams will be 9-8. 9-8. So a 10-7 Steelers team will get in if 2 of the 3 AFC South teams ahead of them lose. One of them definitely will, because 2 of them are facing each other. So they need Jacksonville to lose at Tennessee, and the Steelers need to win next week against a Ravens team that's going to sit everyone. So that I believe, I don't know this, I'm just looking at the standings now and trying to figure this out. I think they get in the playoffs if they win and the Jaguars lose. Okay. Leaderboard at tight end today. Who do we got? Who do you think number 1 tight end is?
Jawan Johnson.
Joku. Oh yeah, Jawan. Right. Let's see. Jawan Johnson. Yes, he's number 1. Likely is 2. He's number 1 by 5 points right now. 8 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown. Man,
he looked great.
Likely 2, Njoku 3, Sam Laporta and Dallas Goedert tied for 4th with 15 fantasy points.
A lot of touchdown dependent play there today.
Yes, with Likely, he had only 42. He only had 3 targets. Goddard 5 for 47 and a touchdown. Jawan Johnson, I don't know what to make of that. I was watching and I was like, I knew there was a reason why I watched one drive in the preseason where he caught like 2 passes and got excited about Jawan Johnson.
But you know what, though? This is now second half of the season last year. He caught a lot of touchdowns. And 3 games in a row, I believe now, he's caught a touchdown.
Yes.
And so there is something to like about what he could be if they, featured him consistently. But they just didn't do that, and look, it's a byproduct of, I think, a little trusting more Derek Carr the last few weeks. They were very physical today. By the way, the catch, I don't know if that's the one you saw, but the catch where he had the somersault, one of the best catches I've ever seen.
No,
Oh, he had a
Oh,
play
they
down the
did?
seam. I think they were
Yeah.
inside their own 5. It was like a 25, 30-yard catch. Just absolutely crazy.
Adam,
What?
you're Mr. Don't check the results during the season. Matthew says he has not checked his results yet. Can you even imagine?
That's
Championship weekend where Sunday Night Football is starting in like 15 minutes, and this guy, no idea.
Yeah, I didn't do that. Last week, I didn't check my scores until all the games were over Monday night.
How did that work out for you?
I knew what happened. I knew my teams were doing absolutely horribly, so I had no interest. I was like, forget it.
There was only one league today that I did not look at until halftime of the 1:00 games, and it was the league where Heath and I were head to head because I was down so much to start, and I was like, this is gonna be ugly. So I'm like, let me go check, and I was like, oh my god, I have a chance. I was shocked. I was honestly shocked.
All right. So do we know? I'm trying to get a grip on all the playoff scenarios now. Do we know which teams are going to be sitting players next week, or at least we feel confident to say they're going to be sitting players next week?
I mean, you got to assume San Francisco's sitting McCaffrey after him getting hurt today, so probably not going to see him next week, and they don't have anything to play for. The Ravens, you mentioned that they don't have anything to play for.
Yeah.
Are the Lions locked into the? No, they still can get the 2, right?
I think they can get the 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
Browns.
they can.
The Browns are locked into the 5. That's correct.
And they
So
said they would rest if they were locked in.
okay.
Even if the Lions were locked into the 2 seed, Dan Campbell would play his starters the entire freaking game, and he'd go for 2 every time. It's insane.
Who else?
I think that might be it.
Or no, the Chiefs locked into the.
They're not locked in. They're not locked in, but they made the
because
playoffs.
if the Dolphins win, right?
The Chiefs are either the 3 or the 4, though, so I don't know if they'll care.
Well, no, if they win and the Dolphins win,
No, the Dolphins are a game ahead of them.
Dolphins are getting ahead of them. Okay.
Dolphins are 11-5. Yeah. So yeah,
Right. They needed the Bills to lose today and then win next week. Right.
Baltimore, San Francisco, Cleveland. I mean, look, the Lions, they need both. Oh no, they need the Cowboys to lose. And the let me check this stupid.
We have a magic 8-ball request.
11-5. Where are the Eagles? The Eagles are 11-5. I don't know who's. I feel like the Lions might sit some players. Might. We'll see. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about every game, and we'll look at some fantasy angles. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today. Okay, here we go. Let's go to the games. We'll start with Saturday's very exciting finish. I don't understand going for it from the 7-yard line, the 2-point conversion. That made no sense to me, but what do I know? Dallas 20, Detroit 19. Take it away, Heath.
Oh, I didn't think we were doing that this week. You said we were doing something different.
All right, let's just give me a fantasy. I can do it. I
know you can. You're a great host and producer. You do a fantastic job.
I mean, is Tony Pollard one of the 5 biggest busts and 3 biggest busts in fantasy this year?
Yes. Is Tony Pollard a starting running back next year?
In fantasy or in the NFL?
In the
NFL. He might still be for Dallas. So that's probably his only shot, I would think.
Because he's a free agent, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they franchised him. Man, he got every opportunity we could have asked for. It was so disappointing. See, Brandon Cooks is great at home. Jamie, you think you'll have Dak Prescott as a top 12 quarterback next year?
Of course, yes.
Now you say that, but you're going to be shocked at who you leave out because I have him 13.
I've already done just listed the 15 guys I think will be there, and he's still in the top 12.
Okay. Yeah. How about Purdy?
I would take Purdy over Dak, but yeah.
How about Herbert?
Yep, Herbert over Dak.
Yeah. How about Tua?
I would take Dak over Herbert. I would take Dak over Tua.
And there you go. And Tua might not make your top 12. We'll see. It's tough. I'm telling you, it's tough. Buffalo 27, New England 21. Well, you guys had a nice Zeke debate, and he probably came in
right in the middle.
In the middle, yeah. Which is where I said I was.
Well, that's where you and I were. Dave was low. Heath was high.
Oh, I thought you were low. You were lower on Barkley. It was Barkley, I think.
Yeah. Oh, my sits were great this week. My starts were not so much.
No. Yeah. Well, who was it? It was Zeke And I was thinking, man, these bad running backs who get their opportunity. Well, there were 2 of them this week. Who the heck was the other one?
I don't know if we need to call him bad.
All right, these fine. Sorry.
Seems rude.
Listen, Zeke did everything you could have asked for once Ramondre Stevenson got hurt. He had 1 bad game. He had 3 very good ones or 4 very good ones, where you could say I started him and I got great production or solid production.
All right, listen, we're walking down the street. We're talking fantasy football. We see somebody in a Stephon Diggs jersey. He's weeping. He's so sad. Diggs just went for 4 catches for 26 yards on 7 targets after 5 catches for 29 yards on 8 targets. So that is basically the same game 2 weeks in a row. And he lost his fantasy league because he had Diggs in it. Heath, what do you say to this poor guy?
I probably just try not to make eye contact, scurry along as quick as possible. Don't say a word to him. He doesn't want to talk to me. He doesn't want to talk about it. Other than that, I mean, maybe you ask him the same question that Jamie asked me about Travis Kelce. Is Stephon Diggs done?
I think he's done in Buffalo. I can't imagine that that's going to be something unless there's a, salary reduction that he's back there. But
wow,
look,
I was reading a comment. Sorry.
Yeah, he looks like he's done. I mean,
let me ask you this hypothetical: if you were playing fantasy next week, well, you're going to have to do rankings and all that. Are you going to rank Stephon Diggs as a starter next week at Miami?
Did you see what Zay Flowers just did though? I mean, he'll still be in the same range where I had him this week, which was just inside the top 24. I was concerned. I probably should have called him a sit, but I didn't go that far. But it's been 5 of 6 games under 50 yards receiving now, or 6 of 7, I think.
Yeah, it's 6 of 7, I think.
Yeah, he's been bad, and it's a byproduct of the offense. It's a byproduct of Josh Allen not throwing the ball with the same volume or level of success. He missed Diggs on a wide open throw down the field. But yeah, it feels like he's lost something, whether it's lost a step or lost his, high end potential.
Yeah, it's 8.8 or fewer points in full PPR in 6 of his last 7 games. Blah. All right, Arizona 35. Whoa! Arizona beat Philadelphia 35-31. Crazy game. Cardinals had the ball for almost 40 minutes here. Okay. Well, Jamie, what do you think? I mean, it wasn't like Swift was bad. I think we were expecting more carries. Is basically what happened there. 13.
He had a bad first half. He was not used very much in the first half, and I think they tried to correct that. They came out in the third quarter, run the ball a little bit more. At least that's the way it felt from watching it. Yeah, it's going to be curious. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with their backfield next year because they have a big hole to fill. So that's a significant offseason move to look at. But I think Kyler showed you today what he can do, and it'd be nice if they're in position to draft Marvin Harrison.
Did Kyler and Justin Fields show enough to not have their team draft a quarterback?
I think the Bears are going to draft a quarterback.
The Bears is more, I think, not necessarily a evaluation of Justin Fields. It's a money thing. Like you're resetting your salary cap by getting a rookie quarterback. You have to pay Justin Fields in a year, and if he plays the way he's capable of playing, that's a mega deal.
Look, it's tough, but I don't think this is not my evaluation. Just from what I understand, I don't really think there are many quarterback evaluators that would say Justin Fields was a better prospect than Caleb Williams.
Right.
So if you put them in the same draft class, Caleb Williams would go ahead of Justin Fields, and I don't even think it'd be close. So if you have the opportunity to draft Caleb Williams, I think you do it.
I think the question is what you can get for Justin Fields now versus what you can get for Caleb Williams now. And if you put that package around Fields versus the other package around Williams, I'm not sure it's going to matter.
So this is just a informal, just shooting the bleep conversation that I've had with Rick Spielman, former general manager, several times in our green room watching games about this exact scenario. You trade Fields, what capital can you return? And he said, most likely you're looking at 2 2s as opposed to a 1 for Fields. Now this was, I think last time we probably had this conversation was coming back from the thumb injury. So not necessarily putting together, a string of decent games. Like if you've heard me say Atlanta, that'd be my favorite destination for him. But let's say the Raiders or the Commanders or any of these teams that that need a quarterback. The Patriots, they're going to be in a position to draft him. But I'm getting at, like, if they're willing to offer a first round pick for him, you have to do that.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Can we help this guy out real quick, Adam?
Oh yeah, sure.
He has a lineup decision to make in the next.
Down 20 points. I have Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler, and Romeo Dobbs. Start 2.
Bench Dobbs.
Really? Is Wicks out?
I didn't see what the inactives are. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me either. Okay, they say bench Dobbs. All right, Chicago 37, Atlanta 17. A little bit of a disappointing day for Bijan. 15 carries for 75 yards. It's not. I mean, it's fine. It was.
I'll be back.
Okay.
Bye, Jamie.
Points by Jamie. There's not too much from here. Oh, you know what? I mean, how about Khalil Herbert? Yeah. Right? 18 carries, 124 yards, and a touchdown. The second running back to score a rushing touchdown on the Falcons. It was very late in the game, But it's like when this guy is featured, he's really good. 2 years in a row.
I think it's another example of, though, like the reason why he's not often featured has something to do with his ability as well. He's someone I will be looking, if off of this performance, I'll be looking to sell in Dynasty this offseason. Okay. I'll be concerned about who the Bears are going to bring in. He's in that range for sure.
All right, that's Khalil Herbert. Jacksonville 26 and Carolina nothing. And basically the only good player in here was ETN. I don't know if there's anything else to say.
What in the world are we going to do with Calvin Ridley this offseason? What is the NFL going to do with Calvin Ridley this offseason? That's a big question.
Yeah, I still think if he's good, then I still think he's got another 1 or 2 years left in him. What is he, 28?
Right. That's the question, though. Does the league think he's good?
I brought this up. Chris made a great point last year about Mike Evans. Mike Evans was looking done, basically.
Yeah.
But he had one thing going against him. He kept drawing pass interference penalties. And at one point earlier, just a couple weeks ago, I think Calvin Ridley led the league in pass interference penalties drawn.
Yeah.
He's also, we've outlined all of the almost touchdowns. Now, there's no doubt. There's been a lot of games where he gets 8, 10 targets and he turned, like today. He had 8 targets.
A lot of the almost touchdowns involved him standing out of bounds or dropping the ball.
Yeah, but those are some of them. But those are the things that I wouldn't really expect to happen next year, or this year, or ever. And they just kept happening. So I am guessing that I would be a little higher on him, but I don't think he's going to be higher than like a 7th round pick next year, no matter where he is. My guess. All right. Miami 56. Nope. Baltimore 56.
Yeah.
What was the score? Was it 56-19? It was 56-19. Holy crap.
Embarrassing.
Worse than I thought.
It's an embarrassment, really.
Tyreek Hill, by the way, dropped the easiest touchdown of his career, basically.
And that was not his only drop of the day. He really let the team down.
Well, I don't know that they would have won.
No. They wouldn't have been so embarrassed.
There's not much to say here. I hope Waddle plays next week. But if Waddle doesn't play, you think Tua has a good game next week against the Bills at home?
No, not at all. I'm not sure he has a good game against the Bills if Waddle does play.
How many points?
The Bills to win by 2 scores.
But this is another guy. Like Tua scored 18 points in this game. If Tyreek Hill catches that pass, it's a 24-point game.
Yeah.
The previous 2 games, Tyreek Hill dropped a deep touchdown pass, or Tua has like a 26-point game against the Cowboys.
I did this for a year and a half with Trevor Lawrence and always defended Tua. And so I'm going to say that right now you're doing the same thing for Tua that I've complained about with Trevor Lawrence.
All right.
Tua is not a top 12 quarterback. Like, you have this grade of circumstances with this grade of coach, with these grade of weapons, and he's going to finish the year like QB 18. You draft him as a backup and hope he does something.
Okay. Okay. And let's go to our next game here. Colts 23, Raiders 20. Let's see. You got a pretty good game from Zamir White. I mean, with the 5 catches, especially at about 16 PPR fantasy points. Adams was great. Jonathan, this was a good. Oh, Pittman was a disappointment. That was one of the biggest surprises to me. Yeah, and it's funny when you evaluate the Colts. what are you going to what does it mean next year? They can have a new quarterback.
I think that's a really good point. Yeah. Jonathan Taylor is going to be awesome. I think Michael Pittman will still be really good, but we had this conversation with Jacob Gibbs 2 weeks ago, and Pittman was Jacob's favorite offseason dynasty buy because he thought Pittman had really shown him that he's an elite target earner. And when Richardson takes back over, things will be even better. I think there might be like 75% as much pass volume when Richardson takes over. So I'd probably be selling Pittman this offseason too.
You mentioned Jacob. Did you say Jacob?
Jacob Gibbs. That's what I said. Yeah. Yes.
I think he called another big George Pickens day. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Well, he put a question.
He's brilliant. He's going to be on FFT Dynasty a lot this offseason.
He looks at things that I really need to start looking at. This was Jacob Gibbs' case for George Pickens. The Seahawks use press coverage at the 6th highest rate and are 3rd in cover 3 rate. Both tendencies typically boost production for true X receiver types, and George Pickens is exactly that. Pickens was dominant against press coverage at the collegiate level, and he immediately became one of the NFL's best press coverage beaters upon his arrival, etc. So these are things that are really not part of my analysis and need to be next year. New Orleans 23 and Tampa Bay 13. So, anything here?
I really cannot think of a thing from this game.
Shocked about Olave. He had been pretty red hot. I thought he'd be great in this game. Great matchup. And it all went to Juwan Johnson.
I was going to say, and Derek Carr was actually pretty good without him, right?
Not a bad game. He had like 110 passer rating or something. 24 of 32, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns.
That's a great game for him. 19 fantasy points.
It's pretty funny that Mike Evans can't have a good game against the Saints no matter what.
It's not super funny if you started Mike Evans today, but I mean, he still gave you 10 fantasy points. What about the day Chris Godwin had until basically 1 catch?
Yeah. Yeah, he had 3 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown on 5 targets. He had a late
Trey
touchdown.
Palmer might be interesting next year if one of those guys goes away.
San Francisco 27 and Washington 10. Very cool touchdown pass from Purdy to Ayuk. But, even though they won by 17 points, wasn't the best performance for the offense.
Pretty disappointed in my Chase Young revenge game play. Probably should have played Trey Hendrickson instead. The Debo Brandon Ayuk question will never actually be answered.
Never.
No idea who's better. Just draft the one that's going later next year.
And this is the one thing, man, this connection between Brock Purdy's passing yards or the team quarterback as it was last week passing yards and George Kittle's yards, it is rock solid basically. And it happened again today, 230 yards for Purdy, which is low, 29 yards for Kittle. It's unfortunately can't do anything about it because I don't know when he's going to have a lot of yards. I thought today would be today. Oh, Jamie's back. Sorry.
You should figure that out.
How long have you been waiting?
Just a couple seconds when you're talking about the mystery of
Kittle.
Debo and Ayuk.
Houston 26, Tennessee 3. Oh, I was pretty bummed. I had a lot of faith in CJ Stroud today, guys.
Nico was good again.
He was good, but I was expecting. You know what? This is when you have a quarterback in a game where they're favored, and then they get a defensive touchdown. It's just like, oh, that's gonna hurt. That takes away pass attempts immediately.
Yeah, it's a bad Titans team.
On the road, at home they're okay.
Yeah.
They're like the AFC Giants.
They are going to be so fired up next week to try to keep Jacksonville out of the playoffs.
Yeah, especially if there's no Trevor Lawrence. My gosh, it's going to be an interesting one. You jinxed him about a month ago. You said, "Man, look at that setup coming for Derrick Henry against the Texans." Texans, there's no better matchup in the history of fantasy football ever.
I brought up the downside of that. I said usually, but this is a different.
No, but you said I think it was around the trade deadline. You were like, "Oh, Derrick Henry's or your schedule, your whole schedule show."
No, because they weren't a good. No, we were talking about Stroud in that one because Stroud was facing the Titans.
No,
twice.
I think if you go back to your schedule show, you were like, "Look at Derrick Henry."
His bad game against the Texans was like 125 yards and a touchdown. He usually gets 200 yards against them every time he plays. But I said
I'm not faulting you. Look, he's
terrible.
He's done.
I'm gonna go ahead and fault you.
It was exactly what you feared with him. Every time they've had a bad game script, he's been bad basically.
Yeah.
Rams 26, Giants 25.
Oh, I think are we inducting Derrick Henry, Travis Kelce, and Stephon Diggs. I mean, you might have talked about more into the Fantasy Hall of Fame already. Like, are they done?
They're in the Washed Hall of Fame.
I mean, they've earned it. I don't know if Diggs has earned Hall of Fame. I would say no. I would say the other two have. Fantasy Hall of Fame, I would say Kelce and Henry for sure. I would not take it.
Diggs might not be a first ballot guy, but he's in.
It really made me sad the other day to think about the fact that Derrick Henry is not going to be a Hall of Famer. And it seems like like his little 3 or 4 year run really feels like a Hall of Fame.
Well,
but he doesn't have.
Was his stretch on par with Terrell Davis? Minus the Super Bowl?
That's the problem, I think.
That is a big problem. But you know what? We act like this was a bad year for him. He's over it. He's going to be over 1,000 yards again. He's going to have he has double-digit touchdowns. It wasn't really that bad of a year.
I hope he comes back next year and just runs all over people.
I really think that if there's one thing like you can point to from a team that did not make a trade, it was Dallas not trading for Derrick Henry.
Yeah. Rams 26, Giants 25. Giants probably should have won this game, but they botched a 2-point conversion. And Rams still would have had a chance to win the game after that, and they probably would have.
They also could have just tackled Kyren Williams.
Could have. There was one play, I think it was his third touchdown, where Kayvon Thibodeau was like right next to him, and he just is like, "No, I'm not interested."
Yeah, I'll be investigating that.
What's up with the Marcus Robinson thing? 6 catches for 92 yards on 10 targets. Man, it's 5 good games in a row for him.
Do they keep him next year?
Is Cooper Kupp there?
Yeah.
Is Matthew Stafford there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, they're definitely a team you don't want to see in the playoffs at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like they could beat anybody. And look, you started to point this out. Obviously, I piggybacked off it with my Sit Saquon call today, just how well they've been against running backs. It's now 6 games where they've just taken away some pretty elite players. I mean, James Conner, we know what he's been. He was bad against them. Kamara 2 weeks ago was bad against them. Barkley today, bad against them. They're just great at taking away running backs.
Yeah, they really are. Barkley had a bad drop, and then he should have had the 2-point conversion. Steelers 30. But for next week, I do think that you got something going there with the wide receivers, especially Slayton against the Eagles could work out. Steelers 30, Seattle 23. Najee with a strong game. It's 2 strong games in a row for him. Warren was great. Let's see what they do next week, because these guys, even if they don't make the playoffs, can carry some momentum into next year. And then
can they though? Because this is basically what Najee did last year too. Not to the same extent, but he closed the season very strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're playing at Baltimore next week. I don't think they're probably. I guess Baltimore doesn't play any of their starters.
Yeah,
there you go.
Play their starters. I wouldn't think.
Well, like they can't sit everybody, so you got to figure like is Roquan and Patrick Queen sitting?
They don't even have a good run defense. That's their. I feel like their only weakness right now is the Ravens. Their run.
Yeah,
defense.
I mean, look, if there's one bright spot for the Dolphins, it was Achane.
All right, for the Seahawks, whatever. We'll see if Ken Walker can play next week. If not, nice matchup for Charbonnet.
Did he leave the game?
He did with his shoulder. I don't know if he came back in because I don't think he did. But Charbonnet only had, I think, 2 carries, but they were trailing.
Yeah. But
he did have the shoulder. The shoulder was bothering him again. I think one of their best plays is a screen pass to Ken Walker. I wish they would run it more. Denver 16, Chargers 9. Eckler with a thud.
Terrible. He's done.
Put him on the list with like we've got an all-star team worth of former stars.
Players?
Yes.
So who's the quarterback though?
But what about Eckler's high ankle sprain? Are we going to give Eckler any high ankle sprain benefit here? Because he was awesome in week 1. That was the only game he played healthy.
Well, I mean, you say that, but he sat out and then came back. And then at some point, there had to be some level of maybe not 100%, but how many players are ever 100%? It's age, it's quarterback getting hurt, it's offensive line struggling again.
Oh, terrible. Worst offensive line.
I heard a clip from his show on Yahoo with Matt Harmon that he was talking about. I didn't really catch the question. I just caught the answer of what's next for him. And he said something to the effect of whether it's in football or out of football, I just want something that's going to be the best situation for me. And when you start to hear things about after football for a player that's in his position approaching the age of 30, Like, we may not see Austin Eckler play in the NFL again, and if he does, like, how much can you trust him?
Yeah. I would like to see the Broncos give Jaleel McLaughlin more work next week. Apparently, Javonte Williams really acknowledged that he's having a bad year. They said it on the broadcast. And he had 15 carries for 41 yards. He was apparently very motivated, and he turned it into less than 3 yards per carry against the Chargers. McLaughlin is clearly the more explosive back right now.
I honestly, not Heath, as a Chiefs fan, that you wanted to see this, but I wanted to see if the Chiefs, when this is at the point they were losing, the Broncos could still win a division with Jackson the quarterback. It's crazy.
All right,
Happy New Year. Have a good night.
See ya.
All right, 2 more games here. Chiefs 25, Cincinnati 17. How about the Jarius Sneed? First team All-Pro, says I.
Amazing, dude. Thank you for keeping fantasy points off the board. We appreciate you.
I thought Browning played pretty well. The second half wasn't great, but Chase did nothing. 3 catches for 41 yards on 7 targets.
I'm not sure he was even healthy, though.
Well, that's certainly possible, yeah. But when Sneed wasn't healthy either, isn't that kind of...
And then Higgins left for a while, and so, yeah, it was... the Bengals will come back next year stronger with an easier schedule. Probably better that they lost.
We'll see what happens with Mixon, because he's scoring a lot of fantasy points lately. And finally, is that our last? Oh, that is our last game.
Johnny brings up a good point. It's too bad that it wasn't a thigh injury, so he could have just been fine.
All I'm saying is, if you have a serious injury in that area, they usually go with the quad or what's the other one?
Hamstring.
The hamstring. Yeah. They go with one of those. Thigh.
Femur. The femur.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that, of course. All right. Thank you, Heath. Guess what? I have great news for you.
What?
I need you for FFT in 5.
I am unavailable.
Oh, come on. 5 minutes? You can do 5 minutes.
Be quick.
All right. We're out of here. Congratulations to all of you who won. And thank you to all of you for listening all year. Remember, we're not going away. We're here every single week, at least 3 times a year. So we'll be there for you, and hopefully you'll be there with us. For Heath and Jamie, I'm Adam. Happy New Year. Have a great night. We'll talk to you soon on Fantasy Football Today.